Everybody, we are back. It is Saved on Live's favorite podcast, favorite channel, favorite everything. We are back. You guys already know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit the dislike button if you don't like it. Leave a comment if you like it. Leave a comment if you don't like it. Also follow us on Twitter at the Mark John NFL for me, at Glen and Rockney for Glen, of course, and as always, pandasups.com, discount code TDL for 35% off. All right, so we're back with Friday Night Live. We had a break last week because there's just so much news. I mean, we did like 8 shows last week. It felt like everything's just dropping out of nowhere. It's just bomb after bomb. It's been a quieter week, a little bit, but we're back here with Friday Night Live because going over you guys' questions, of course, and then talking about what's happening at the Raiders. A little bit, of course, a little bit of draft stuff. And then going over some of the games that happened this weekend, of course, the playoff games that are happening, and looking at Glen has his Notre Dame hat on, so we're gonna be looking at that game as well. So, how you feeling, Glen? How you feeling, man?
Oh, good. Yeah, interesting. I've said it on Twitter, but I'm gonna say it again. I can't allow myself to get Ben Johnson mania right now because there's just too many moving parts. You heard Shefty going out there. Some people are calling Shefty a hater. He is an insider, so I can't toss his opinion away. But saying, oh, everybody's in it. Why would he be centered in on the Raiders and stuff? So I'm going to echo that because I really started to get excited for a little bit, and that's not good for my health.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. A lot of this Ben Johnson stuff is just kind of funny. Is the reaction to it, and I put out a tweet like last Saturday, kind of just talk about how the media is going to react if the Raiders get Ben Johnson, but they're already reacting to the Raiders' potential of getting Ben Johnson. It's like a huge reaction to it. Like people can't believe it, and I don't think it's that crazy, but
yeah, I was wondering, to me, like how I didn't realize what for the offseason NFL economy, I didn't realize what a big tourist attraction that Raiders fucking up is. Because like, man, they need us to be bad, apparently. Because I mean, we've been doing a great job at it, but they need us to be terrible. And like, maybe the Raiders might be on the right track. Like maybe they might be on the right track. The NFL does not want to see that, apparently, not the media, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk about we got to investigate Brady now. Like he has to address it. He has to address it. Like if he doesn't address it, we're not gonna like. What is he hiding? You know what I mean? Like it's a hilarious reaction to it, in my opinion. Like
oh my god, I know. Funny. Wow. Well, Brady's announcing the Lions game this weekend, so that'll be interesting.
I hope he throws some kind of like little small shade in there, like at the end, like he's introducing the team and he's like, yeah. And I really hope he becomes the Raiders coach.
Yeah, or just be like, when Ben Johnson calls like a really fun play that gets like 35 yards, he'll be like, Brady would be like, God, be lucky to have that guy, running your spot sometime, right, Kevin?
I hope he just does that the whole broadcast, just throws a whole bunch of shade. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it'd be great to have that guy as your coach. He's such a great guy. Just kind of just hype him up a lot.
Yeah,
do a lot of that.
That'd be great. I know. I want to believe. I want to believe. The problem is it's a team that's still playing. The whole league has not hired anybody besides the Patriots, of course. Has not hired anybody. They're all waiting on Ben Johnson. Everybody's waiting on him because other coaches want to see what Ben Johnson's money is going to be like. So they can then adjust their contracts accordingly. But also, I think the Jags, Bears, and Raiders all want to see what's going to happen. Then hire, then go after the, Carrolls. Because I think Pete Carroll's like 3 different teams' backup plans right now.
Yeah.
It kind of feels that way. And Pete Carroll's kind of waiting on the work. Because you could hire Pete Carroll right now and nobody's doing it. Mike McCarthy has a lot of talk going to the Bears. They can do that. I think, right? Or do they have to wait till the 20th? I can't remember. I think they might have to wait.
They can do that shit right away.
Because I thought his contract was done on the 20th. So that's what I thought. But maybe Jerry might have just released him from that or something. But
you might be right. You might be right, bro.
Yeah, I thought I'd seen something like that. And that the 20th is Monday. So if that's the case, then maybe they'll just hire McCarthy. But again, it's kind of stopped since the Patriots hired Vrabel. Nothing happened.
Yeah, nothing's happened at all with after hiring Vrabel. You got a point. Like even I think the first GM got hired today to the Titans.
Yeah, the guy from the Chiefs, staff.
Yeah, so it really has been a crazy movement, but I also think the big reason for that is that there's not a lot of like hot head coaches right now, right? There's not like a head coach that people have to have. And people were talking about like Mike Vrabel as a big head coach. He got snatched up already, right? The Patriots fired their coach who they already had, right? Just make sure they can get Mike Vrabel. So they brought him in. He's already there. He's probably the other hot head coach candidate besides Ben Johnson. So it's just really, to be honest, it was Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson. Those were the two hottest ones. Everybody else is kind of just, like whoever takes the Bears and Jags job is not going to be somebody we were talking about like in like December or something getting a head coaching job, right? Like if it's Mike McCarthy or something like that. It's going to be some kind of weird off person. Like a Robert Saleh, like Arthur Smith is getting interviewed. That's how I know it's bad out here.
Vance Joseph, guys like that are getting interviewed, and you kind of, I don't know, it does feel like that, but I do think Ben Johnson is the domino that needs to fall once that happens, and I'll tell you, it'll be real crazy if Jaden Daniels goes into Detroit and tears up the Lions. Guess what starts right after that is Ben Johnson mania. Like if the Lions lose, I don't know if they're going to. We'll talk about that later, but if the Lions lose this week, it's going to get really interesting really quick.
Oh, if the Lions lose, I mean, he's going to be open to the live interviews, right? And once that happens, that's when somebody gets hired is the live interviews. Because to be honest, like most of the time, especially if you bring in like a Ben Johnson, you don't want him to leave. Right.
Exactly. Liam Cohen stayed in Jacksonville for a long time. It sounded like recently till about 1 a.m. Like I saw like when Schefter tweeted out, somebody pointed out Schefter's tweeting this out at 1 a.m. like that he just left. Liam Cohen left the facility. So that maybe they're going to fall in love with each other on something. But again, Jacksonville let him leave. Technically, they do think they have a chance at Ben Johnson.
They think they have a chance at Ben Johnson because they think they have Trevor Lawrence. So
and the Bears have Caleb Williams and a bunch of money. Both teams have a bunch of money. I think for me, the thing that a lot of people, I didn't think Ben Johnson would be interested for a while. I just didn't think he'd want to come here, but it does make sense in a way that you have to. The quarterback, he might not like Trevor Lawrence or Caleb Williams, or at least not want to be tethered to them. The Raiders, it sounds weird because we hate it as fans, but the Raiders have the freedom of you will eventually be able to get your guy, like the guy. Like, so instead of going, well, I want to work with Caleb Williams, I want to work with Trevor Lawrence. We'll see. We'll see how true that is because he will jump immediately to one of those teams if that's the case. Like if he loves Trevor Lawrence or Caleb Williams, he's taking that job. Yeah, because they're there. If he does, if it's back and forth and being interviewed, you have to wonder if he thinks maybe the vacancy at that position and perhaps the young offensive line, Brock Bowers, maybe that's fun for him.
Yeah, so let's just get into it. Let's get into it a little bit. So Ben Johnson is probably the hottest head coaching candidate, right? At this point, right? And he is really connected to the Raiders. Right? I mean, that's why people are freaking out. You see Adam Schefter's freaking out. He is I saw Jordan Schultz kind of make the case that why would he pick the Raiders? He really didn't have like a inside source. He was just making the case like, why would you do that? You know what I mean? Yeah. So you see a lot of people's reaction to that. So I'm gonna ask you, Glenn, we'll kind of start this off. Why do you think that Ben Johnson does have interest in the Raiders?
Well, I think it's got to be something with Brady. I mean, you got to start there. Like I said, I think Brady's pitch to him, which it sounds like they met for the first time, or at least to their knowledge, at the Vikings-Lions game. The last week of the season, he called that game. I guess they seem to have had a pretty constructive conversation from what I gather. Now, the reason that you want it is, one, you got Brock Bowers too, schematically. Perhaps you think you have, some pieces on the offensive line. I think we think that the Raiders have a nice young offensive line. And you're going to have money to spend. And like I said, I think the vacancy at quarterback isn't actually what deters a lot of coaches sometimes, because
Yeah.
I think it's, if you have 5 or 6 years, you can come in here and you can hand pick, one way or another with your GM or off the free agent market at some point, you can hand pick your next quarterback. And like I said, maybe you don't want Caleb Williams to get you fired. Maybe you don't want Trevor Lawrence might not be able to get you fired because he might be out of there before you, but you don't want your first quarterback to be someone you're not super excited about.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, Ben Johnson and Tom Brady, it's the easy connection, right? The easy one, and they kind of like, I think the offense is young, and there's a lot of pieces there. Even if they don't have a quarterback, that can entice an offensive coordinator who feels like that there are like a high level offense coordinator, because a lot of these guys have a lot of arrogance. If they're a really good offensive coordinator, especially when you're balling with Jared Goff, I mean,
right.
This guy turned around Jared Goff, right? I mean, Jared Goff was literally written off. If you went on Twitter in 2022, Jared Goff is like 28th ranked quarterback in the league. People were like, he sucks, yada yada yada. That's why Sean McVay, who's their god at the time, they changed whoever their offensive coordinator, specialist, favorite person is every week. But when Sean McVay was that guy and he traded Jared Goff, it was like, yeah, now his offense is going to take off, yada yada yada. Ben Johnson has really helped Jared Goff become a top 10 quarterback again, right? Or I mean, if you ever thought he wasn't before, he definitely is now. So that kind of mindset to him, I think, with all the pieces that are around him, I think that's a big part of it. Also, I think just from a different perspective, I think the challenge of turning around the Raiders entices him. And I think that's what, like, I probably feel like that's what Brady's probably selling to him a little bit. Like, you could be the guy to turn the Raiders into a winner. And I think that's really the biggest sell of the Raiders, in my opinion, because the Raiders is such a historic franchise that if you could sell to somebody that you're going to be the guy who gets them back to being the Raiders.
Yeah.
I think that's a sell for people. And a lot of people, and I don't think a lot of like media people understand that. They don't understand the mystique of what the Raiders are. And if you're like a big football guy and you could sell that to somebody, because the Raiders have so much history.
Yeah.
I think that has a little bit to do with it too.
And also, he turned around the Lions, so you'd be crazy if you were the guy. You're part of the turnaround. I can't say he turned around the Lions. Yeah, you're part of. You could do two. I'll say it, poverty franchises. You could really make them that way. And then you have Brady, who's like, I think he's the type of guy that'll just be like, look, you need to be here, and I know I need you here. Kind of, you need to be with me, and I need to be with you. Kind of situation. I feel like Brady's kind of like that, and he'll be like, "You want Tom Telesco gone? I'll text him right now. I don't give a fuck. I'll text him right now. Tom, your badge doesn't work anymore. See you later. Thank you for your service. I'll do it right now while we're talking, Ben." Like, and maybe that's what happened, but like, I don't know. But that was still the Telesco one was kind of like, usually they get fired the same at the same time, but but anyways, I think the Brady thing is a selling point. I think I think these coaches are being told they have time. And whereas when you're taking like I'm saying this again, you take the Jags job, your job is to fix Trevor Lawrence. It's less about build us a winner than it is fix Trevor Lawrence. Your job with the Bears is fix Caleb Williams. It's less about building. Their fan bases would disagree with me there, but everybody knows it's true. It's about that quarterback. With Ben Johnson, it's like, we'll get the quarterback, build the team. And they're coming from a place who, like I said, took somebody's throwaway. I disagree that Jared Goff was most of a throwaway. His contract was a throwaway, not Jared Goff's ability, in my opinion. His contract was a throwaway. He had to take the Lions had to take Jared Goff's money away from the Rams so they could pay Matthew Stafford and do all of that. But we'll see. We'll see. I hope it's Ben Johnson. Honestly, like, I wasn't super like, we have to have this guy until I saw that the league said we can't have him. I'm a contrarian a little bit. I was like, no. What makes you guys so great? The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Bears. I have nothing against either of those franchises. I have nothing against them. It's like the Don Draper meme. I don't think about you at all. Neither of you two. I never think about you guys unless we're playing you guys, which those games are hardly ever even on cable. Like, those are bad matchups. Like, and I don't know why they need us to be bad for them to not be the worst team, I guess. Is
Mm-hmm.
that the because Bears fans are insane because they have that crazy Chicago media machine where it's just
Yeah.
a bunch of guys like, how many radio stations do you guys have? They have like 50 million radio guys. They're like, and who doesn't want to come to Chicago? We got the best stromboli. We got
Yeah.
the best, we got the Polish sausage. You get Wrigley. They do all this stuff. We have Roma Medusa. We have Brock Bowers, dude. We have Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. See, I think with how the media looks at the Raiders and how they look at the Jags, I mean, it is about Trevor Lawrence, but I mean, Trevor Lawrence has been there since 2021. So they went 9-8 once, maybe twice, right? He hasn't won. It's not like he went 13-4 or some shit. Like, it's not like he's just kind of turned them around where they're this dominant team. They're in a weak division. You know what I mean? Like, CJ Stroud had a bad year. He still went 10-7 and won a playoff. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If CJ Stroud had a good year, had a better year, they're probably winning like 13 games or something like that.
Right. No, they're probably they might even be battling the Chiefs to host whatever game they're playing. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe they're beating them earlier in the year or two. I know you're right. It's you don't know, like, we see it as like a fantasy power ranking of like, well, they have the better quarterback, so that's the better situation. It's not. It doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, it doesn't. And that's why you could talk about Trevor Lawrence struggling, and is it the organization? Is he just a Jags quarterback? Those things aren't said, right? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm sure, a lot of the reason why Trevor Lawrence is struggling is because he plays for the Jags. He's got Shad Khan as his owner, and
true,
and he won't get rid of Trent Baalke and all these things. Like, those things are there, but teams still expect Ben Johnson to go there. Like, you're talking about, you think Ben Johnson's going to work for Trent Baalke?
No, that is a weird thing that they're so. Why they kept him, I don't know, because there was a better case to keep Tom Telesco than there was Trent Baalke. Truly, like, there was a better case for the Raiders to keep him in terms of just what they've done. Trent Baalke, he's lucky Trayvon Walker's got 9.5 sacks. He's still not better than Aiden Hutchinson, and it was the easiest pick in the world. It was the easiest pick in the world, and that was the pick he got, quote unquote, not wrong, and we're taking guys, Caleb Chase on guys like that are coming in and they're finally being good over here. So there's a development issue over there. Maybe, I don't know. It's not, I just don't think, I don't think the Raiders are good. They're 4-13 and I haven't really enjoyed watching them play much this year. So I feel bad saying this, but I never felt like it was a bad situation. In fact, all year I was saying this is not a bad situation for a good, competent quarterback either to come in and make really good. So I feel the same way about a Ben Johnson type, but I feel like the roster is still not really exactly what brings him to any of those three teams besides maybe quarterback or not quarterback. I still think it's ownership. I think Mark Davis is going to do whatever Tom Brady says if Ben Johnson gets reeled in. He's like, look, I got this coach. He gets 6 years, Mark. You do not get impatient. Yeah. And I don't think Shad Khan is going to get told that by anybody. And I don't think the McCaskies also are not the greatest owner. They're kind of like Kendall Roy, or like Roman Roy, I should say, like Fail Son, kind of a greater ownership group. So with Mark Davis, I think, he's the son of an owner too, and he doesn't have the greatest track record as an owner, but he'll probably just do whatever Brady says. He'll pay what Brady wants, and he'll give him as much time.
Yeah, and I also think too, which, the Raiders' mystique is still there. Like, I don't care what people say. Like,
it's true.
I don't care what people say. The Raiders are still there. It's still a selling point because it's the Raiders. It's a brand. Like, the Jags versus the Raiders. Like, even if you think about it, I mean, the Raiders beat the Jags this year. So, I mean, even if you look at it that way, like, the Raiders brand is still kind of like the Cowboys brand. So, no matter, I know they haven't won in a long time. The Cowboys haven't won in a long time too. I guess they make the playoffs more than us, which is fair, right? Yeah. But the thing is, like, the brand is the brand. Like, there's certain NFL brands that the average person knows that you walk down the damn street. Like, if I show the average person a Jags mascot and I showed them a Raiders mascot, they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's the Raiders," and they'll be like, "I don't know what that is." You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people miss that, in my opinion. That sure, like, the Raiders are whatever you want to say, dysfunctional, whatever, right? And I would agree with some points on that for sure, but they're still the Raiders. So, You know what I mean? Like it's just that's a selling point to me. Like you bring in a guy, especially with the where he comes from, that's very rugged with Dan Campbell and all that stuff. You bring that attitude to the Raiders. That's how you can kind of rebuild them. So I think that is a selling point, in my opinion. But I think a lot of people are just missing that is part of it.
Yeah. Now, I guess to me, what do you do if he doesn't? I have to ask, what do you do? So the good thing is there's not a lot of chairs moving around right now. So you do still have a nice pool to pick from. Do you go the Liam Cohen route? Do you go the Pete Carroll route? To me, I don't. The more and more I look at this roster, I don't necessarily want to go get an older coach for it, because that's the other thing we didn't talk about, right?
Yeah.
With I think Mike McCarthy actually might be a better hire for the Bears than Ben Johnson right now for the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Or Dan Orlovsky, who gets clowned on a lot, he made a really good point about that. He's like, how often do you see young coach, young quarterback, young offensive coach, young quarterback actually working right now? It doesn't happen that much.
No.
For head coach, it's typically older head coach, John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson, guys like that. Like they're usually you get a better mix out of that. It's a young quarterback, and I got an experienced guy who's developed quarterbacks before, which Mike McCarthy has. He had he's had Aaron Rodgers. He had Dak Prescott. Dak looked his best under Mike McCarthy. Truly, like he really did look his best. I think that's a better hire for them. In fact, if I was the Jaguars, I'd try to hire Mike McCarthy as well. Like,
yeah, I think you got a point. I think you got a point there with like Mike McCarthy go to the Bears. I really feel like they're going to hire him for some reason. I think that's going to be their choice is Mike McCarthy. So, I mean, with the Raiders, if the Raiders would go Ben Johnson, I do think they go Pete Carroll.
Okay. I think so too. I think so. I think that's what they do. I wouldn't, but that's what
how do you feel about that? How do you feel?
It's nothing against him. It's nothing against him. To me, it would immediately become about a GM. The GM hire would have to be just so good, and the GM would have to have control of the room. I don't want Pete in that draft room at all. Him and John Schneider, I feel like from what I gather, they were kind of just picking kind of not that great players and getting, like I said, pretty good years out of them and stuff. But if I had a coach getting Pete Carroll type players, which we all know who those guys are, those classic NFC West matchups with long corners, good linebackers. If you were able to get guys like that, I wouldn't feel too terrible about it. What are they doing at quarterback? I feel like they're just going to be trying to. I feel like they had Russell Wilson fall in their lap. Otherwise, man, they would have been miserable. I think trying to find quarterbacks. They were running Tavares Jackson, doing stuff like that. Man, I don't think. I would be exactly neutral on a Pete Carroll hire. I think I wouldn't be mad, and I just couldn't get excited about it either.
Yeah, yes. I wouldn't be mad about Pete Carroll hire either. And, I kind of feel the same way. Like, I wouldn't be excited, but I do think that he's a good head coach. Right.
Yeah, sure.
So, right. He's a good head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And, you got Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, Andy Reid. He kind of matches that level.
Yep.
Which is why I think the Raiders are interested in him. And they have a super interest in what he likes to do. But with that said, he's still Pete Carroll a little bit. I mean, like I said, he has his own offense. I talked about this on the film review show. He has his own offense that he likes to run. He has like his own style of things he likes to do. He really hasn't really changed from those things. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of why maybe Seattle just thought this should go a different way, is because he hasn't really changed from that philosophy. So, playing a lot of the cover three. I mean, he has played more too high when he was before he ended up getting let go. But those things are still there. Like his philosophy of how to win football games is not going to change.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same way, right? And yeah, he's won a lot of games. So you're like, okay, that makes sense, right? That is how you win games. Maybe if you feel that way, if you won a lot of games, you won the games that he has, you feel that way. But in my opinion, like you have to decide whether his style is outdated or not at this point. And that's where it becomes a little bit crazy. Like who's he going to pick at offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
Those type of things. Those are kind of the questions you have to ask with Pete Carroll. But I mean, he's still a good coach, right? It would be like hiring Jim Harbaugh. People want Jim Harbaugh, but it would kind of be the same type of thing, in my opinion. Yeah, he's older, but it would still be the same type of feel. Like the Raiders will definitely improve, right?
Well,
right away.
So the reason getting back to my point though, if you were Pete Carroll and Mike McCarthy, wouldn't you go to a place that has a quarterback? That's why I mean, like, it feels natural for Ben Johnson to take the Raiders and then those guys to take the Raiders or take the Bears and Jaguars. Pete Carroll in Jacksonville would be like immediately their best coach of all time. Like if he went there, like am I wrong? Tom Coughlin, sure, but Tom Coughlin. I'll give you Tom Coughlin, but I've got that wrong. Since Tom Coughlin, he would easily be their best coach without question. He would probably be ours too, but I liked Gruden, so I don't know. But anyways, you could have that there. You're coaching Trevor Lawrence. You're building up that defense. You got some athletes. You got the Trayvon Walkers. You got they could get an Abdul Carter, and then you're like, wow, Pete Carroll's out in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, and they look good. And then you see Mike McCarthy, him taking Caleb Williams, who could definitely make a lot of those Aaron Rodgers off-schedule throws. That's his best asset, without question. I would take that job. And then if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm like, I'm making the Raiders into a run-first offense, and then I'm maybe taking Aiden O'Connell, for a year and seeing what happens. I feel like that seems to be more what he would actually do,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
See, I think with Pete Carroll, one thing I would say too about that, what you're saying, is that when you're a defensive head coach, you might look at Aiden O'Connell as a little different than an offensive coach.
Yeah.
Or even the quarterbacks are here, or feel like that you could bring in, like somebody just mentioned Jalen Miro, like you could bring in a guy who gets the run game going and complements what you want to do on defense. And you could draft him at a different spot. And also, since Aiden O'Connell doesn't turn the ball over that much, I mean, that's something that he didn't do this year like he did the previous year. I mean, there was times where he threw some picks and he threw some ugly ones. But if you kind of bring that in and bring in the offense coordinator that you want and try to focus on running the ball, or even bring in a Jalen Monroe or somebody like that, it could work out. It might be able to work out with how he wants to do on offense, because he doesn't really, I wouldn't say he wants like a superstar quarterback. I mean,
right.
The Raiders might end up like trading for Geno Smith or something crazy.
That's what and I think a lot of fans, if they had a Ben Johnson type, I don't think those trades wouldn't be as crazy to them, right? I think you would trust the process a little bit more, and like it would make the draft interesting. Like, do you just find a mid-round quarterback and let him sit behind, like you said, a Geno Smith or even Aiden O'Connell for a year if you had a Ben Johnson? Now, the defensive coaches are interesting to me. I'm a little different on that. I'm kind of like, all right, do we have any idea of what they're going to be able to do with the quarterback and that revolving door at offensive coordinator if you're any kind of good? That revolving door that you're going to have to replace. You don't always have a Dave Canales on staff. You don't always have those guys. With McCarthy's different too, because McCarthy, say what you will about him, he's a double-digit game winner almost every year. This year, he even had their record should have been worse, in my opinion, with what happened to them. People like to clown them. It's funny, I get it, but they didn't have any of their good players for most of the year. I feel like it just feels like they down year for everybody. Parsons hurt at the beginning of the year, and Mike McCarthy still they have 7 wins. Something like that. Yeah, 7 wins. That's 8. His worst year. You know what I mean? It's just those guys. I wouldn't even hate Mike McCarthy in Vegas. That's my thing. I wouldn't hate him.
I remember McCarthy. It wouldn't bother me either.
No. Would you rather have Mike McCarthy or Pete Carroll in Vegas?
I'd rather have Pete.
I'd rather have Mike.
I'd rather have Pete. This is just
interesting. I said it last time. We act like we're above Mike McCarthy just because we watched Stephen A. Smith make fun of him.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
That would not bother me.
At
all. I do think that with the other coaches, I just don't see. I don't know. I'm looking at some of these names. You got Robert Saleh.
No thanks.
Todd Monken has not been interviewed yet.
No, and that could I could, depending on what happens this weekend. Todd might get some interviews.
Aaron Glen has been interviewed too. Steve Spagnuolo, right? Which is a no from me.
Yeah, me too. I don't. We did Dennis Allen once. Let's not do it again.
You know what I mean? Might as well hire Matt Nagy. You can do that.
Yeah, but it's even weird. It's even worse, I feel like, because Steven Spagnuolo, you want to talk about like, dude, no, it's not gonna happen. Yeah, I just don't think he has like the charisma that you need. Now, he's unfortunately, I hope like somebody else hires him as a head coach, and then we all win because the Chiefs don't have him.
Yeah, because I mean, and then today they interviewed Ron Rivera, which I really hope it's not that. No,
Man,
I don't need Riverboat Ron.
No,
that would be crazy. That would be upsetting to me.
To me, like that's like a linebacker coach at this point. Ron Rivera is like a guy you hire as like a linebacker coach. Like he's got to work his way back. Another head coaching job. The guy Dan Quinn takes over his damn team, and they're in the playoffs.
They're in the playoffs.
I mean, I know Jaden Daniel. I understand Ron Rivera didn't have Jaden Daniels. I get that. Yeah. We saw that with Cam, with Ron Rivera, what that did to his team. I understand that, but yeah, again, when you love your coach, you don't let him leave. So they let him leave.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Did he leave? Is he still there? I hope he's not still there. But
and Rivera went into a season when I'm going to win with Tyler Heineke. So I mean, Taylor Heineke.
He's just that's that devastatingly old school that I hate, dude. That's the one I hate. Yeah. Jay Schrader, like, you know, we have Jay Schrader. We could say that like back in the day, man. Jay Schrader, we're gonna ball out with Jay Schrader. Yeah, our defense is so good. Yeah,
exactly, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And then Vance Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, again, they're not letting these guys leave. So
I don't know. The thing about Vance Joseph, I don't know about. My thing with him is like you went back to the team that fired you. I don't know.
Yeah, that is crazy.
That's a little weird.
Yeah. And he's clearly, again, in the Dennis Allen. He's in the Dennis Allen category. They're clearly great at what they do on defense. Clearly, they will coach as long as they want as a defensive-minded head coach or defensive-minded, defensive coordinator, I should say, or a defensive position coach forever. We don't need to hire these guys again as head coach.
Yeah.
No, I don't want Cliff Kingsbury either. I said in the comments. Hell no, dude. Wait, I saw another one that said Todd Monken rejected the Raiders.
Did he?
I didn't know that. I hadn't heard.
I don't think he's accepted it yet. I don't know if he's rejected it.
Oh, somebody was saying that. Somebody said rejected in the comments. I didn't see that anywhere. But
because I read before we came on the show that he just hasn't agreed to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is fine. I mean, sure.
Yeah. You feel like, somebody saying it in the comments too, where do you wonder if they're just biding their time and just interviewing like division opponents, defensive coordinators, just cause.
So
somebody said Steve, it in the comments.
So Steve, when you're on third down,
yeah. Vance, what do you do here? Bring in Jesse Minter. Yeah, bring him in too.
We're watching the film here, and I'm just trying to figure out what you were doing here.
Yeah, what does that mean when he claps his hand like that? That linebacker. What does that mean? Like, just tell me. We're boys. Let's go. We're not gonna. Yeah, off the record, but just tell me.
Yeah, just let me know, man. I just try to figure it out. You know what I mean? That's a good point. They all are AFC West.
Somebody, I couldn't remember who brought it up. Somebody brought it up in the chat, and I was like, damn, maybe they're just buying their time, and they're just like, I might as well do these interviews, make it look like we're being diligent. Yeah. When we talk about verbiage, what's your favorite verbiage? Say it now. Write it down on the whiteboard. We'll take a picture.
Explain your defensive scheme. Yeah. Like, let's go into detail here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Hey man, you gotta study your opponent. Your opponent.
I think it was Austin. Austin said it. Shout out Austin.
Shout out Austin, my dude. Austin. Yeah, I'm saying Austin the Wanderer. All right, let's get to some of these questions. We'll talk about Maxx Crosby and his cryptic comments here. What was your Will Howard takeaway? For me, I don't want to go there yet. What my Will Howard takeaway? That's what I thought. I was texting my brother. He told me I was crazy. So,
well, let's just see what happens Monday, guys.
I'll say this. I don't know how a guy is 6'5", has an arm talent that he has. Even if you talk about how big it is or not, right? It's good. It's pretty damn good arm talent. Mm-hmm. Can run, which I was shocking. Like they're running zone reads with this guy.
No, he can move. Yeah,
can run, and is playing in the national championship. And is not going first round. So he's 6'5". Like I'm a PC. He's 6'5". He's probably like 230 pounds. Mm-hmm. He has a. I want to see the Senior Bowl live, but it looks like a pretty damn good arm. Like I said, and can move. I'm just trying to figure it out. I was like, what's happening?
So I was thinking about that too, because I was like, yeah, why haven't I known? I watched Ohio State, but he never pops off the screen to me. But when you'll watch like somebody post a throw, you're like, damn, that is a nice throw. You know who he reminds me of though is Geno Smith though. He does remind me. He makes those Geno throws where you're like, damn, dude, you make some crazy ass throws that like nobody else makes. And then also he's real he'll go and streak. He's real streaky quarterback. Whenever I watch him, it's like their offense is either humming or it's nothing. Yeah. And it was the same at Kansas State too. It was like sometimes, man, this guy's just lighting it up, and then sometimes it just looks like he just misses a third down throw. You're like, that's got to get made, man. Like, and but I do I don't mind him at all. Hate him right now personally, but just hope. Oh, we slayed. We killed the Drew Aller rumors. My Notre Dame Fighting Irish officially sent Drew Aller back to school. I will rewrite history because, guys, shame on you guys for wanting Drew Aller in the first round. There were plenty of those people out there. That man is not a good quarterback.
It just, to me, it just has never happened in the history of NFL draft prospects. A guy who could move with a low-key great arm that is in the national championship game. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, this is like against NFL football prospect rules for quarterback position. Who plays from the pocket too? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and like because he has this play that Abdul Carter comes free, like he's running a bootleg.
Yeah,
like fourth down.
I've seen it.
He avoids Abdul Carter and then throws a jump pass on the run. And I watched that play. I was like, what am I missing? Like, am I an idiot? I feel like, I don't get
it. Pat McAfee was hyping him. I was watching Pat McAfee the other day, and he was just like, because you know how he calls those games like at the sideline. He has his own like broadcast where he calls it. He's like, I'm standing next to the guy. This guy's massive, and he's just ripping the ball around the field. And I'm just like, I watch every Ohio State game. Like, I will say though, like, you watch the Michigan game. Yeah, he was not good against Michigan.
He wasn't.
So we and against Oregon. Great.
I know. I like the Oregon film. I'm not gonna lie.
If you like the Oregon film, you like the Oregon film. And then we'll see what he puts on tape Monday. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, we'll see. But that's what I'm saying. It's a weird thing to me because Drew Aller gets all this hype, right? And the other dude from Ohio State, like, really basically has like almost the same skill set. And is like, well, this guy sucks. It's just weird. I don't understand it.
And they both have like the thing is they both have elite supporting cast. However, like Aller, for some reason, they're like, oh, and look at Aller. I'm like,
it's like, oh my god, look at Aller. Like, it's just
I mean, he has Tyler Warren and those two running backs, good offensive line, and they're like, oh, his receivers aren't that good. It's like, well, he's not good at throwing to them either.
he's like, he's got this big ass arm but can't throw over more than 20 yards. Like, that's a problem.
And just his footwork. His footwork's terrible. Howard's footwork looks a lot better.
I tell you, like, Howard is like a secret guy in my opinion. Like,
it won't be though. There's gonna be a riser. There's gonna be a riser, and it's probably him.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And he's going to the Senior Bowl. Like, so we're going to see that arm live. The coaches are to see his size live. Yeah. Like, he is
pause, but yeah.
Pause. But like, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to me.
I'm kind of terrified of him, to be honest. Like, he's a little scary. I don't know.
Like, if the Raiders draft in the second round, I'd probably be like, I'd be cool with it. Like, at this point. But
like I said, we'll see what happens Monday. Because if he has a meltdown on Monday, I'm just saying, look, Notre Dame's been making these quarterbacks have some meltdowns. I'm just saying, everybody's a little hype guy. We're like the Grim Reaper meme going door to door. I'm just saying, don't believe the point spread. Don't believe the point spread.
I'm with you on that. All right. Are you going to address the Brian Young draft story?
Yeah. Did you hear that? It was kind of. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. I've read it 50 times. I don't think it's real. I think Byron Young got confused. The Raiders know who they drafted.
Right?
Yeah, no. I get it. Haha, Raiders. That's not like an Adam Schefter leak to like, see, you can't go to the Raiders, Ben Johnson. They didn't know who Byron Young was, the right one or something. Like, that seemed like a weird leak, man. Like, because I was like, it doesn't make sense to me. I read the story. I read the tweet. Byron Young said the Tennessee edge, who is good, Byron Young, who plays for the Rams right now, says he got a call from the Raiders saying, we're drafting you. And it was in the same round as Byron Young, who is now out of football, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
One of the great Dave Ziegler picks
Awesome.
out of Alabama, which at the time everybody was like, what? Wow. And so they're saying Byron Young is saying they drafted the wrong guy. And the what people are saying is Byron Young, Tennessee, got called saying by the Raiders, we're going to draft you. And then the Raiders submitted, we're drafting Byron Young out of Alabama, which, look, there's some bad front offices out there. We've had them. Guys know where guys go to school. These guys watch that's one thing they know. They picked the wrong guy. And also they had just drafted Tyree Wilson in the first round. It makes more sense that they drafted an interior lineman in the third. I think I'm not saying Byron Young's like lying or anything, or I think somebody was saying like in there his agent got called. I feel like it was agent speak, and then it was like, haha, look how dumb the Raiders are. And it was like, look, they're dumb for picking the wrong Byron Young. That's correct. Because we knew it at the time. And that guy's a beast, and that Rams defensive line makes me so jealous every time I watch them. Gosh, so good.
Loaded there, bro.
Yeah, and they're like all 23. Yeah, it's insane. And their coach is 38. Oh God, bothers the hell out of me. But yeah, I don't believe that story. Like, I don't believe that that's what happened, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a weird story, bro. And what scenarios does Ben Johnson not go to the Raiders? Do playoffs affect the spot, or if he stays and runs it back with the Lions?
You said it. If he stays, and that's a possibility. Like, maybe do we want the Lions to win the Super Bowl? Perhaps, because maybe he's like, well, my work here's done. I got a Super Bowl with the Lions. Like, do we want that? Because if you, what we don't want is for them to lose like 34-33. Ben Johnson has a great game on offense, and they lose, and like he's like, I could get him next year. That's what we don't want.
Running back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I Lions and Super Bowl just doesn't go together to me. So I don't believe that until I see it. I don't care what the record is. So we'll see.
I think Philly and the Rams are both very good, and people just aren't. I think that game is actually the craziest game of the week.
I mean, the Lions have no corners right now. They don't have any defensive ends. They don't have any corners.
No, Aaron Glenn's doing a great job because they don't have a good roster on that side of the ball right now. So we're going to talk about it, but that point spread that's going to be an interesting game on Saturday night that a lot of people aren't ready for.
Yeah, I agree with that. What you drinking? Just some little Voodoo Ranger.
Yeah, I got a Pilsner from Berkeley Fieldwork Brewing. Very good.
Look at you, your California breweries over there.
Yeah, always. It's like we got wineries, breweries. You could just start picking grapes, picking hops, and just hand it to somebody, and beer goes up in your hand.
Exactly. Get more questions before we get to the next topic. You don't think he returns? You don't think he returns if the Lions lose? Or they better win. I mean.
They might if they lose and they're like, let's run it back, like kind of like a superhero franchise movie where you get Lions, the Lions 4, like you get that because it's like a, I don't know, the Empire Strikes Back, right? Like it's like kind of like that, but I kind of want them to win the Super Bowl because it would be cool if they won the Super Bowl. I got nothing against them, and that would mean the Chiefs didn't win the Super Bowl. So
exactly,
yeah. So I'm fine with it. I'm fine with either one. I'm fine with waiting. I know a lot of fans don't want to wait. That's the problem. But I'm like, if they lose, he could pull a fast one like he did last year. He was linked to Washington pretty heavy last year.
Yeah. Do you think there's a smear campaign against the Raiders in the media?
Yeah. Is the sky blue? Yeah. Absolutely. They hate us. I don't understand why Schefter does. Brady's a Michigan guy, so he should be really, he should be. I don't know. It's strange. It does feel like the league is not necessarily doesn't want us to be good, but they do require us to be comical. And even if they hired like a outlandish name that was good, they need that like Raiders do something outlandish headline to run with. And Raiders hiring Ben Johnson would not be outlandish in any way,
Yeah. The Lions took out Amik Robertson. I mean, Amik did have a good game.
I like Amik Robertson. I
do, but like
I like Amik Robertson.
It's just he did get beat a couple times, and Sam Darnold like threw into the stands.
Hey, I mean, guys get beat, but he was also making plays on guys a lot taller than him. He's,
Amik's I'm not okay. Amik's a good player. I want to say that, but just from what the Lions had to start the season and have now, their defense still they're giving up like 30 points a game. They just score 40. You know what I mean?
Oof,
Like when they play the Bills, they put up 35, but they gave up 45.
That's gonna be some prime time football on Saturday night. I'm telling you that much.
Have you heard the rumor about trading for Hooker? Like, I didn't believe that rumor just because of who it came from. I'm not gonna say his name. So
yeah, and also let's just get Ben Johnson. All this like
it's like the ultimate assumption.
Yeah,
you get Ben Johnson, you get Hendon Hooker. Like that's so easy.
Or who does he hire? I don't know. I just want to get him if that's the case. Like I just get him. Like I will figure that out. Man, you guys, you got to leave yourself an out if this thing goes bad because it's just not done yet. I don't think.
All right, a couple more, and then we'll get to this here. Do you think Johnson could make Farva a good QB?
I think you can make him a bridge for a year. I think I think he could. I think what they're asking, I think he could get the best out of him. Yes, that's correct. I think you could get the best. And like I said, Aiden O'Connell, I don't like him throwing 30 something times a game. Like if I think what Ben Johnson brings will be a consistent run game, despite who's at quarterback. Consistent run game, consistent, and that's why we'll talk about the draft, but it would make the draft interesting to me.
Yeah. For sure. How's Pete Carroll in game adjustments? I mean, Pete Carroll's a great coach.
Good in game. He's good for a defensive guy. You see defensive guys being bad this year, man. Raheem Morris, terrible against Washington. Robert Saleh was really bad at time management, but you got fired. Antonio Pierce, bad time management. A lot of defensive guys really bad with time management. I have no idea why. Perhaps because they don't run as much 2-minute drill while calling timeouts, but they have no idea to do with timeouts. Pete Carroll always seemed like he knew what he was doing in that regard.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get. I'll keep adding your guys' questions here. Just keep asking your questions. We'll get to them here soon. Let's talk about Maxx Crosby a little bit because Max was on Good Morning Football because he's been on NFL Network, and of course Peter Schrager asked him about what he thinks about the Raiders or whatever, and he kind of went on this speech. I don't have the exact words, but something was interesting that he said in there is when he said AP and Telesco, I really appreciate the time I had with them there. And I was like, that's an interesting statement.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on Max? That whole clip, what were your thoughts on Max? Do the Raiders trade Max? Does he ask to be traded? Or should they just give him $30 million, like I say?
I think they're going to pay him. I think they're going to pay him. I don't know. I think he's trying to get money more than he's trying to get traded. I think is what it is.
Me too. I do.
Yeah, I think he's trying to get money, and he should. He's very good, and they have money to pay him. They don't have a GM right now, so it's not going to happen. So once the GM gets hired, I listened to that clip, and I think he's just tired of the turnover, and I get it. Yeah. Like it's we as fans are like, oh, good new coach, sick, maybe we'll be good again. But they're kind of like it's turnover in the NFL is really bad. It's not like the NBA. It's not like the MLB. You have a lot when you take one gear out of the watch, right? The whole thing has to stop. And you have to put the new thing. You have to do all this stuff really before you can move again, and that sucks to do over and over again. I think he's lobbying for some money. Let him talk. It's fine. I mean, he's a guy that does a lot of media. I didn't really get the vibe that he was saying trade me. I thought it was pay me because on his podcast, The Rush, he was a little more candid, right? Because he's talking to his buddies there, and he basically was like, "I don't have any more guaranteed money on my contract, so I'm not really sure what the situation is." Yeah, that means pay me. That means pay me. And he basically says fans take that and run with it all the time. He's like, but and to be honest, in agent negotiations, it's probably not a good thing to say I want to be a Raider no matter what and win with this team. It's probably like you kind of want to play a little harder to get or harder to keep, I should say. Right? Like you kind of want to be like, well, I'll go where somebody wants me, or somebody values me and stuff. So you're gonna have that. And we're gonna have to wait a while because it doesn't sound like the GM's gonna get hired till Ben Johnson gets hired. Or doesn't get hired, but you know what I mean. Whoever they bring in, they're going to have to hire the GM simultaneously. I think that'll be one of the first orders of business, though. I cannot imagine they want him out. Any coach is going to take this job and want him out of the building.
Yeah, because that's the big thing. Him not having any more guaranteed money in his contract, he wants to be paid. Okay, why don't you just say that, man? Instead of just doing these cryptic things, scaring Raiders fans. starting this conversation that we even have to have. Like, just be like, hey, I want to get paid. I think they should pay me more.
Yeah.
And that makes more sense. Because, like, even last year when you talk about the AP thing, like, I think that was still the basis of it too. Like, I'll ask for a trade. Like, no, you're not gonna ask for a trade. We're just gonna bring you up to like Myles Garrett, TJ Watt money.
Sure.
And you're gonna be getting paid just as much as they do, and you're gonna shut up and you're gonna go play. And still think that's the biggest part of this is he wants to get paid. Because if he gets traded to a new team, what happens? He gets
contract.
paid.
Contract. Yeah, absolutely.
He's gonna get paid, right? So if the Raiders trading him is them actually deciding we don't want to pay him anymore, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, 100%. Or this is the tricky part, right? This is not what I'm saying, but let's say a coach does come in. Let's just say that they've moved the window to 2 to 3 years to when we think we're going to be playing some meaningful football. There's not a quarterback in the building. They might say, does a team like Carolina, does a team like Chicago, does a team like Jacksonville, does a team like that want to give up their first round pick this year? Plus some other stuff down the line, but mainly their first round pick this year. Those are all top 10 picking teams, by the way.
Yeah.
Do they want to do it because we might not be good by the time Max is 30 based on this new hire? We don't know what their philosophy, what their view of the roster is going to be. I almost think that's almost the right thing to do it at that point. If you don't think you're contending for a couple of years, if you're just like, we don't think that. Now, if you hire a coach that comes in, it's like, no, a couple things and we're right. Trust me. I like what I see here. It just needs a little direction, different this, then you keep Max.
Yeah.
It comes with the timeline, because if you can get the Bears first round pick this year, it'd be funny if it was the Bears again, but the problem with Khalil Mack, I'm bringing that up because they traded Khalil Mack the day before the season started and got the Bears playoff pick as their first round pick, which that's not good business.
Yeah.
Do it when you can get them at their worst. You have to just understand, if he wants out, trade him. That's what I'm saying. If he wants out, trade him. You can't. It just doesn't work that well in the NFL when you just keep guys that don't want to be there. The Bengals had a bad year right now because they're not paying anybody and everybody doesn't know what the situation is.
Yeah, they didn't pay Jamar Chase.
Or T. Higgins. I mean, they're probably going to let T. Higgins walk. But yeah, you're talking about literally maybe the best receiver in football. And you just don't pay him. And you already have your quarterback and everything. So you don't want to be in that scenario. If you're not going to pay him, you need to trade him this year.
I agree with that, man. If they don't want to pay him, they got to trade him. Yeah, but if they do want to pay him, they just got to pay him.
Either of those
it's a simple situation, right? It's simple. It's simple to me.
Yeah, but do it this year. I wouldn't keep him for a disgruntled year. Is what I wouldn't do. Right? One more year where he could get hurt. One more year and the problem is he is coming off an injury right now, so that is tough. He said he just started walking again without the little scooter thing. So that's a little bit of a trouble part. It kind of hurts your return if you trade him. But like I said, you could get a team that is on the up, maybe has a quarterback already, and they want to get like a blue chip player on defense, and they're ready to risk it all. Now, I don't trade them to the Lions because the Lions are going to have a high pick or a pick in the late first round. I would do it for a team like, if a team like Carolina is just like, we want to get like another star in Carolina. And I think it would be a good trade on their part too, because Bryce Young's playing well. You got your coach there. They have some players on defense. I don't want to do this. That's where I would trade him, though. I would pay him. I just pay him, though, personally.
Yeah. Josh Jacobs and his little, I'm going to talk to my friends. Like, Josh, we don't care who you talk to be honest. I don't want to talk about that. Because that started a lot of the Packers fans. They think they're getting Maxx Crosby now because Josh Jacobs is going to call Max and tell him to come play with us. We got Jordan Love, and he's
not a free agent, so get over it, Josh. You can't do your little banana boat thing. He's not a free agent. So.
Maybe you could talk him into getting Devontae back. I mean, that's probably your best chance there, Josh.
Yeah, and like I said, it's tough, and this isn't really the year that I want the first round pick, to be honest, because it's just not that kind of draft. I don't think.
Yeah,
but. You could trade. You then have 2 top 10 picks. You could trade down with one of them. Like, you could really, really turn that pick into a lot of picks. It's not a situation I want to be in. I'd love for Max to just be like, yeah, I'm really excited for our next head coach. And then he gets his contract. That's what I want to happen. But if it doesn't, you can't do the. I wouldn't play hardball with him. Is what I'm saying. I would trade him, and he doesn't. I don't think he has a no trade clause. So get ready to learn Carolina Panthers, buddy. Is what I would say. Like that's what you're. Those are the teams that I'm trading you to. I'm trading you to an NFC team that's not that good yet.
Yeah.
So if you're tired of it here, you're going to be traded to the NFC equivalent of what we are right now, kind of.
I agree with that, man. Like, I'm not trading to a team that's picking at 20. You know what I mean?
No. I'm not trading you in the AFC either. I'm trading you to an NFC team. Like I said, the two teams that come to my mind are the Bears or the Panthers. Those are the two teams like where they got a quarterback there and they want to run while they're on a rookie deal. They want to load up. That's who I'm trading them to. But and people are I want to keep him, and I want to reduce his snap count. I want to do all of that stuff. That's what I want to do, and I want to ideally I want the Raiders to hire Ben Johnson. I want Ben Johnson to bring in a good young defensive coordinator that understands that Max playing 70 to 75% of snaps is actually better than 100.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's get a couple more questions, and then we'll talk about draft a little bit. We'll talk about draft. When we can start doing probably after the Senior Bowl, we do like our first mock, probably.
Yeah, I'm down. I got I play around with the pro football one. That one's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, do our first mock like after the Senior Bowl. Because I don't know about before. I would like to, because I just want to see the Senior Bowl is where I like kind of get my draft going.
Yeah, sure.
In my opinion, because I like see a guy like who's that, and there's not that many underclassmen this year either, to be honest. So it's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're getting paid $4 million to play college football. That's not a question. Where we go? Where we at? How many beers into the Raiders are good? I don't know, man. We've had a lot of beers.
You're getting your stomach pumped. Yeah, at that point.
We've had a lot of beers since then, bro.
Yeah, if you're talking about trading Maxx Crosby, I would.
Yeah, that's a lot of beer.
Yeah, that's a lot because that's setting the timeline back a little bit.
Kyle McCord from Syracuse, 56th round. I just don't like drafting quarterbacks that late.
I'm a little different than you because I'm either day 1 or day 3. I don't like round 2 and 3 picking quarterbacks. It doesn't. With how many guys? When Russell Wilson, 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
How many 2nd and 3rd round picks do you see in the league that are just balling out right now?
I'm trying. Second round is like the worst to draft a quarterback.
Jalen Hurts and Russell. Well, and Russell Wilson's not balling right now, but he's might even be a Hall of Famer. So we have to give him respect. Jalen Hurts and Russell Wilson. I'm just trying to think of guys 2nd and 3rd round. It just doesn't really happen like that much. To me, it's day 3 developmental or 1st round. And a lot of guys trade up into the 1st round. Like Lamar Jackson, you trade back up into the 1st round, you get that 5th year option. That's why if you think that's your guy and you're like, I'm not waiting to the 2nd round because I want the extra year on his contract. So I'm more of a, if I don't mind Kyle McCord to answer that question. I don't mind Kyle McCord 5th, 6th round. I mean, that 5th or 6th round, if you find a guy that you think is pretty good, every time I watch him play, he looks like a competent backup. I wouldn't view him as the solution, but yeah, sure.
How do you feel about Kyler?
I don't know.
If they got, I told Glen this in the DM, but if they got Ben Johnson, I would rather them trade for Matthew Stafford.
You want that bad, yeah. You want that bad. You thought about Geno Smith, and I was like, Ben Johnson and Geno Smith would kind of cook. Like I was like, and that's easier to get. But
Ben Johnson and Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, that's you're trying to get the Super Bowl next year, is if that's happening. My problem is I don't think we're a Super Bowl roster, and it would be and Sean the Rams do voodoo magic, dude. They're crazy.
It would be an exciting 10-7, Glenn.
Yes, sure. It would. No, it would be sick. No, don't get me wrong. But also the Rams aren't trading him, so
yeah.
They're literally going to play Philly right now. Like this weekend.
I mean, but if they lose, right? If they lose really bad,
no,
right?
They're not doing
blown out, right? And it's like, hey, maybe we should. They can grab Ben Johnson, and what better with Ben Johnson than the dig king?
I think they have. I think
up throwing the dig. Nobody throws a better dig route than Matthew Stafford.
Sure, no, I got you. I just So what, are you trading Maxx Crosby for a pick, then using that pick to go get Matthew Stafford?
I don't. I mean, I never thought about like would Maxx
Yeah.
Crosby be involved with it. I'm just saying he does. There's nobody throws a better dick, and he said he's gonna hit his cousin. Maybe when he's 44, he might hit that because Stafford. You got to think about a Stafford's arm dying is probably like Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I hear you. But that's why to me, if I knew I had Ben Johnson, I would just go trade for Geno Smith real fast. It probably wouldn't cost you that much. I would trade him for a year and then just be like, we need a guy. I'm telling you, that's what I would do, because that's what Seattle wants to do anyways, is run the ball. They would just want to do what the Lions do. They're just not as good at it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you go get Ben Johnson, just go for it, man. Just call the Rams, like, hey,
no,
we run a lot of digs off play action.
They're not getting no. And I think him and McVay want to retire together, probably own property together. I think they're both gone. I think they're both going to retire at some point. And if they win the Super Bowl this year, which I don't think is out of the question, by the way, no one's right. No one's saying that they can win the Super Bowl. If they win the Super Bowl this year, I think they're both retiring. Why?
I mean, because either way you look at Matthew Stafford, I was talking to my brother about this. He asked me, like, after the fourth quarterbacks, you go like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. Who's the fifth guy? And I was like, it's Stafford.
Yeah, no, I do agree that Stafford is a top 5 quarterback. I'd be pumped if they drafted him. I like 100%. Are you kidding me? Like, I'd be pumped if they traded for him. Yeah, I love Matthew Stafford. No, I just that is just 0% chance.
I would be talking shit to people and everything.
Yeah, it would have to be if Sean McVay retired and Matthew Stafford wanted to still play. That would be the only way that would happen.
Yeah, I agree. Is Ben Johnson picking his own GM or is Brady? Probably it's a package.
I have a feeling that ship would fall so fast after the Ben Johnson hiring that it would feel like it was already a package deal, like you said.
Yeah. I think it's like an agreement deal more than like, we're gonna hire John Spytek. Do you like this, Ben? He's like, yeah. I don't think it's like Ben's picking the guy, right?
Yeah.
It's like
that's part of the situation. That's part of the situation you're coming into.
Who do you think Johnson would bring over as his DC if we get him? Probably somebody from Detroit.
I was looking that up. I had no idea. I was trying to look at, because he was he with Miami? He was with Adam Gase for a long time in Miami. Yeah, and I think I was trying to think who was like on the defensive staff there, perhaps, in case you can't get anybody from Detroit or you don't feel that anybody's ready to call defense yet, because I'm just wondering if there was anybody from that Miami coaching tree that's kind of lingering around the league or something. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, because I'm looking at some of these guys. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, he might hire one of these guys from Detroit, right?
Yeah, and who on their staff that's doing stuff. Like, I'm trying to see who.
Nobody that you really would know.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, Detroit Lions defensive staff, just to see who's on there. Yeah, they've got Kelvin Shepard. He's young. I mean, I feel like the dude was in the league. Damn, their corners coach is Joe Bly. That's crazy. Oh, that's right. They had a bunch of ex-NFL players as their. Yeah. I remember that from Hard Knocks. Yeah. So yeah. Kelvin Shepard looks like he's kind of the like lead defensive assistant there. So okay. That's their senior defensive assistant is John Fox. That's crazy.
Yeah, because this is saying, like, who would he bring in? Does he bring in Mark Brunell as his offensive coordinator? That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting. But I would be more concerned about his defensive, because that guy's left on an island, right? That guy's like, he is coaching the defense on his own. Brian Stewart is their defensive back coach. None of these names are guys that are like, oh, that guy, so we don't know.
Exactly. Any update on DC Graham? I don't think so.
I thought he was considered a finalist for the Bengals. For the Bengals. They're saying he's considered. This is just a rumor. Considered a finalist for the Bengals DC, which, I mean, more power to him. You might play some more meaningful games soon. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Do they hire a GM before head coach? I don't think so.
No, I think it's gonna be the head coach and the GM will be announced within hours of each other, in my opinion.
All right. Good transition here. Let me talk about the draft a little bit.
Yep.
Raiders go Genty and load up on elite playmakers with quality O-line. One of the Michigan studs would be great too. Okay, so 6. Raiders are still picking at 6. Okay?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways they can go here, Glenn.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of ways. They can go defense. They can go defensive end. They can go defensive tackle.
Yep.
They could go corner. They can go offense. Like, do they take a wide receiver?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do they, even get crazier? Do they take a tackle, which would be crazy? But it's up. They took Brock Bowers last year, right? So I'm not putting anything out of my mind, right?
Different GM though, but we'll see. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So there's a lot of ways they can go with the 6 picks, which in my opinion, I think they're in a really great spot.
Yes, I love where they're picking right now. I would say somebody's already said it in the chat, but if they draft Ben Johnson, I say Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks, you got your left tackle of the future. Colton Miller's getting a little bit older. Maybe you find a spot for him. Maybe he's playing early. You never know. Then you have a nice young offensive line. I like Kelvin Banks a lot. If they trade Maxx Crosby, Abdul Carter becomes my number 1 target. And if they're trading him for a top 10 pick, I would absolutely want to be able to find a way to get Abdul Carter on my roster. The guy's an absolute nightmare, productive. I know Matt says he has some stuff he needs to work on, but every time I watch him play, he is so disciplined. He comes from being a linebacker, so he just has that kind of IQ of a linebacker with the athleticism of an edge. Mason Graham's a guy. I will say I'm a big fan of finding where the depth is in this draft and staying away from that early. Ashton Genty is RB1. There's just no question. He's very, very good. It's a deep running back class, though. Like, it's a really, really deep running back class.
Really
there
deep.
are some studs there that I don't necessarily know that I have to, like, in a top 10, that I have to take Ashton Genty or else I'm going to, lose my mind. Caleb Johnson's really good. Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Junkins. I mean, dude, there's so many. There's so many of these guys coming in there. But wide receiver is light this year. It is not the best receiver class, in my opinion. McMillan is not out of the question. And I think if you have a chance to have McMillan and Bowers on your team, that's kind of scary.
Yeah. You're right about running back, because I'm looking at the running backs here on PFF. Just looking at some of these guys, like Devin Neal.
I love him.
On PFF.
I love Devin Neal against Colorado. When I watched him, I said that is a beast right there.
He's 5'11", 215. That dude, he can run the damn football. I was watching RJ Harvey. I mean, DJ Giddens is coming out.
Have you watched the guy from Rutgers yet? I love that guy. Monda guy.
He's 133. He's 5'9", 209.
Yeah, he is physical when he runs too. I'm a big fan of him. Yeah. But yeah, I like what the clips you posted of RJ Harvey too. Literally like him a lot. That's what I mean. If you draft Genty, I would actually be slightly disappointed, despite the fact that he's probably a multiple-time Pro Bowler. I would be slightly disappointed, and it's different than Brock Bowers, right? Who I was ecstatic about. Brock Bowers, it was like, okay, that was tight end, and you have like a Travis Kelce level tight end, and the guys behind him were not the same. There's no tight end in this class that's Brock Bowers in this class. Ashton Genty. First off, is Genty a receiver at all?
He can get far.
Can he? Okay, I don't. That was a real because to me that's when you really can justify the top pick being a running back is when they can catch the ball. Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson's a great receiver. Like those guys, nobody cares that they got taken in the first round, right? It's just when the guys need to be handed the ball every single time for them to do something. That's when I get like, But if he can receive, that's good.
Yeah, because the Raiders, they need to draft a running back. Of course,
they need 2, in my opinion.
I'm biased. Of course, I would like Cam Scatterbo. Like, I'm biased on that. I'm not gonna lie to
you, dude. I'm telling you, this is the draft to grab 2 of them, in my opinion. I would say
you could
I say day 2 and day 3, you need to come out of this class with 2 running backs because they are really good.
They have two third round picks, right? So let's just say they don't get, because I think Cam Scatterbo is going to go higher than people think. Even if people think he's slow, I think he's going to go higher.
I think he's a 3rd round pick, or maybe late second.
Even if you think that, right, they could draft him in the 3rd, and then they can come all the way down, and they could draft DJ Giddens or Damian Martinez in the 6th.
Yeah, or I mean, like I said, I'm telling you, watch this guy from Rutgers. Just what that's he's kind of becoming one of my guys. He runs hard, man. Because my guy before that, and he came back to school, was Nick Singleton out of Penn State. Oh,
Yeah.
but he's coming back to school, and again, it's a deep class. He's probably smart to do that. He could be a second round pick or maybe even a late first next year. But yeah, there's so many of them. Ollie Gordon. I mean, these guys are going to be available later in the draft probably. And also you think about in the free agent market, one of my biggest things I'm thinking about is, let's say Ben Johnson's the coach. I would take a flyer on Nick Chubb and draft a running back, with some of these picks and just like go to work. And that's why with my first round pick, if I'm going to draft a running back later, I'd love to go get a Kelvin Banks, man. I love what he does in the run game. Will Campbell too is another guy. I don't think offensive line's out of the question.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of the question too. I mean, there's a couple of interesting guys that they could end up drafting too. I think I don't know how, depending on the quarterbacks go. I mean, Travis Hunter might fall to 6. That sounds crazy right now. I know it sounds insane.
It does, but it doesn't.
Right? Because if you look at Travis Hunter, right? Travis Hunter he's 6'1", Will Johnson is 6'2", 202.
Yeah, and it's all about what Will Johnson runs. And if Will Johnson runs like insanely good, he's gonna be ahead of Travis Hunter in the draft.
If he runs a 4.4 at 6'2", 202, he's
right. Yeah, and I want him at that point. Like I wouldn't draft him, but yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Will Johnson is somebody that I'm looking at. Mason Graham his tape is crazy. Like I was watching Will Howard versus Michigan, and like him and Abdul Carter. I watched both. I watched Will Howard play both those guys. I started watching those two. That's how I know how good those guys are.
Those are the two guys. It's to me, it's Graham, it's Graham, Carter, and Johnson. I think are the three like true blue chip players of this class. Cam Ward's a wild card. We'll see, but like those are the three guys right there. And like I said, I like the early offensive linemen that are going to Campbell and Banks. And I think to me there'll be an interesting trade down scenario now that Telesco's gone. Trading down is back on the menu in the first round too, and that's something you're gonna have to think about too. I really just like the strategy. To me is I definitely don't need to go running back first round in this class just because it's so deep in there. I would say this class is deepest at edge and deepest at running back would just from what I've been looking at. In the top 10, I like to go, let's just say that those guys are gone. Graham, Johnson, and Carter. Let's say they're gone. To me, it becomes McMillan, Banks, and give me another one. I don't know. Like that would be right there. But I would say McMillan and Banks. That's kind of like who I'm looking at that point because,
PFF has Josh Simmons from Ohio State ranked higher than Banks.
Yeah, people do like him. I like Kelvin Banks. Anytime I watch him play, he just seems really good, really technically sound. I think if he makes it to 11, the Niners use him to replace Trent Williams. Like, just to me, I like him a lot. I don't know. Have you watched him?
No, I haven't got the tackles.
You haven't done any tackles. Okay.
I've done I've done a lot of the running backs, and I've mostly done I've done the quarterbacks. I guess I can get into like Riley Leonard and Quinn Ewers, I guess. But I mean, because Ewers is interesting. Like he's ranked 121 on here, but he's just so talented that I can see an NFL team just falling.
But he's another one like third round. I think he's going to slip to like the fourth round. If you don't get drafted in the first round, a lot of times you slip to the fourth. That's just what happened. I feel like what I was saying earlier, that's just like the way a lot of teams look at it too, maybe late third or something. And again, you want to bring them in. That's fine. You can talk me into a lot of guys as a developmental prospect. And we'll see what they do at free agency, right? Like at free agency, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to identify the weakness of the draft depth wise and attack that in free agency. And that way you can have the depth of the draft fall to you.
And PFF has Shedeur Sanders ranked 42.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, they don't have him as a first round pick. It's weird. Like you talk to like media guys that aren't draft guys, and they have him in the top 5. And then like any analytics site, I think Pro Football Network has Sanders in the first round at least. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be weird, man. I hope the quarterbacks go high because I hope a blue chip falls to the Raiders. But
so let me ask you this, because I honestly think that Sanders might be there at 6. Just because I believe if you actually go and watch his film, like which I think teams will start doing, right? Because there's buzz around him because he's Deion Sanders' son. Once you actually go watch his film, it's, how would I say it? It's just boring.
Yeah.
Right? It's real boring, right? And he doesn't do a lot of big time NFL things where you're like, he can anticipate. I don't know. He holds the ball too long. There's a chance that he might be there at 6. I'm gonna keep it real. There is.
I think he's gonna be there in the second round. I think my take. I've been saying it for a long time. I think he's gonna be there. I think that PFF rating is gonna be more where he goes, and I think he's gonna have the nobody believed in me, which is where I want Shedeur. I want Shedeur where the nobody believed in me Shedeur, not that everybody believes in me and I'm a baller. I want nobody believed in me Shedeur. I want 8 Mile guitar riff playing in my head. I want dreams and nightmares. I want that instrumental playing. Like I'm telling you, that's how I want Shedeur Sanders coming to my organization. But I think that there's just this, I don't know. Like he's not a top 10 pick to me. Like he's just not. And he's gonna have this insane run. Like you said, the film is boring. And even if the interview process is great, that doesn't mean teams want him in the top 10. That means people just want him at some point. And I think he's going to be there. I think he's going to maybe not second round. I'll say late first. That you maybe trade back up to do it, which I'd think about doing. If they hire Ben Johnson, would you want Shedeur Sanders and Ben Johnson? I think I would.
I mean, yeah, he could throw a good dig. He could.
I think I would.
That's probably the best thing he does. Because I know I'm gonna get to more questions, but this person just asked, like, Marcus, what do you think about Will Howard? What I think about him is I'm staring at these quarterback rankings, and he's the only guy who's 6'4", 235. I mean, it just doesn't make any. It just in my head. It just like if this was 2001.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here in these days?
Yeah. So I'll say this though. What if by draft time, let's say, Will Howard and Jackson Dart, I think, are going to throw at the combine, right? Let's say those guys light up the combine. Maybe Shedeur.
Jackson Dart's going to Senior Bowl too.
Yeah. So what if those guys rise up? Like that I could see Shedeur Sanders sliding a little bit because those guys maybe being just slightly more athletic, a little big, bigger in size. Will Howard I hope he doesn't win a national championship, but he might. And that becomes a thing. Those guys that might push Sanders down the board. I'm just saying.
I'm just not convinced at this point, like after watching Howard's film, and I think he's going so much under the radar because nobody expected him to go to Ohio State and be where he's at. I think
it's true
that if he has a great game against Notre Dame and then he goes to the Senior Bowl, which the Senior Bowl is huge for a lot of these guys. He goes to the Senior Bowl, he has a great week. People see how big he is. They see how good his arm is, and he picks up that offense quick. Like he could jump in the first round because that's the thing. Because Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are like the two guys right now, right? But all it would take is some 6'4", 235-pound guy to have this crazy rise when in a really hot quarterback class where like it gets to the point like they're talking about the Raiders taking him at 6.
And that's what I'm saying right now. Yeah.
Right? No, it sounds nuts. Mm-hmm. But I just think that path is there because there's just no quarterback really taking that reins.
And immediately, like, your great throws on tape become better than Shedeur Sanders throws on tape. That's what I mean. Like, immediately, like, if you have the accolades, like, because we're talking about Shedeur Sanders as a quarterback who didn't win anything in college and didn't, and just doesn't have the most exciting film. I like I said, if he keeps slipping into the first round, I'm trading up to get him. I would. I truly would. I just mean, I could see some risers coming in over. I think Cam Ward's the number 1 overall pick. I think he's a Tennessee Titan personally. Like I think that's what's happening.
I think Cam Ward goes 1 too.
I think Cam Ward goes 1.
Yeah.
But after that, I could see a Will Howard or a Jackson Dart sliding in there and having it be, And who knows what workouts Ewers has. I have my issues with Ewers. He has the same problem. It's just nothing seems to happen quick. It always just seems to, when he plays quick, I really like him. When he plays in that first Sarkisian script, I really like the way he plays. And then the minute that it's past that, I can't stand him. But let's just say those two guys like Dart and Howard. I like Howard more than Dart, but let's say those guys move up. You might have 3 quarterbacks taken in the top 10, and then after that, there's usually a lull. And Sanders might be the one that falls. I feel like he will.
Yeah. If you're watching the show and you're questioning my Will Howard, I'm doing a Will Howard breakdown on the PFF show.
No, he's good. I think he's good.
And I'm doing one for members too. It was just a little shocking to me. That's all. I was like, this is,
Did you watch K-State film of him?
No, I haven't done that yet.
So I would be interested to see what the jump was like. I would be interested. Like, okay, was he doing this at Kansas State? Like, was he making these kind of plays? Like, did he get better? Did just simply taking him out of Manhattan, Kansas, and putting him in Ohio State, did that make him a better quarterback? I'd be interested.
Yeah, because he's accurate too. Like, it's not like he's inaccurate or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Somebody said he was running the ball.
He was.
Which is my point. Like, this is my whole point. He's 6'4", 235 with a big arm, and he can run. Like, this doesn't make any sense.
I used to bet on him. He used to hit overs a lot. I've always thought he was a pretty damn good quarterback. I didn't. He's one of those guys nobody talked about. There was a radio silence on Will Howard for most of the year, except for his loss at Michigan, where everybody decided he was bad, or against Michigan, not at Michigan. But he won. Yeah. He won the Big 12 in 2022. Like, the guy can play. Again, I expect him to creep up. I don't think Will Howard's going to be available in the 4th round. I think he's going to be a 1st-round pick probably.
Like it just doesn't make, like, from the history of the NFL, it just doesn't make any sense in my head.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't.
It is weird, yeah. Chuck Pagano was on Pat McAfee talking about how he built like Andrew Luck. I was like, oh boy.
I'm telling you, those things are going to start, especially. I know especially if he wins on Monday. They're going to start like, well, yeah, he's 6'5", and he's going to go to the Senior Bowl, and it's I don't know. There's a path.
We'll see.
Him.
I'm hoping for his worst tape ever to occur on Monday.
All right, what do you guys think of Miro with Ben Johnson? I like Jalen Milroe a little bit.
You could talk me into it. I'm not out on Milroe yet. You could talk me into it. I would, because when does he get taken? When does he get taken?
I don't know. Like, I think he would be a guy too if he has a great Senior Bowl, and he could sneak his way, because he's even with Cam Ward, he's like talented. He can run, he can throw. He comes from a structured college. Nick Saban's going to be at the Senior Bowl, hyping him up. Those things are going to be there with Jalen Milroe, that he has a chance to rise too. But I do like I like Milroe more than most people. I think I do want to watch more of his bad games and kind of see what the issue is there. But it's more like with him, even if he struggles year one, I know he's going to give me 100 yards rushing in a game or something like that.
Yeah, and he's going to have that Terrell Pryor against the Steelers run. Like, no, I'm with you. No, I'm with you. That guy, and again, worst case scenario to me, I make him my Taysom Hill. I tell him to eat a little bit and get big and just become my short yardage quarterback. If it's at the worst, if I just think he cannot play football, like he's just not a quarterback, give him some time. I don't mind him at all. And you want to talk about the interview process? I don't know if you've ever heard Jalen Milroe speak or anything. He's fantastic. The guy might have a job in media. He's really good. He's really smart. I think he graduated early at Alabama. He's going to crush the interview process. I think he's going to slide up a little bit. When does he get taken? Because if you're not round 1, I tend to think you slide further. Day 2, people stop thinking about quarterbacks. It's a weird thing. People don't think about quarterbacks on day 2. You see the teams, they all start grabbing everything that fell on day 2. It's like it just becomes a clearance sale, like for a lot of prospects that fell. What if Jalen Milroe could either go in the 4th round or in the 1st round, and it wouldn't shock me?
Yeah, because I see a lot of people talk about Jalen Milroe. He kind of reminds me of Jalen Hurts coming out, but Jalen Hurts went to Oklahoma and kind
Yeah,
of raised his stock a little bit
he
with
did.
throwing a lot of those yards. But what was Jalen Hurts' biggest thing that that's why Tua replaced him in the national
Right.
championship game.
Yeah.
Played the whole next year is that he really can't throw, right? And we see how he is in the NFL. So I think there is just a path where if you hit on Moreau, that he could be a superstar. So that's the thing. Like you just have to think about it that way because he is explosive when he is running with the football. So
Yeah.
it's he's like an upside pick. Like however you feel about him right now as a quarterback is not how you would be projecting him year 3,
For sure.
is the whole goal if you draft Jalen Moreau.
He's the
You're
upside
basing
guy.
it on the upside, yeah.
And you're looking at, a guy like Malik Willis, who I think Milroe is better than Malik Willis coming out. 100% better quarterback coming out of college, just in my opinion. But Malik Willis is doing some nice things for Green Bay. I mean, if you have a smart coach, which guys, let's hire a smart coach this offseason. I hope it's Ben Johnson, but if it's not, let's hire a smart coach. And if that happens, I trust them to develop a Jalen Milroe. With what we had, maybe not. So those are the risks you're allowed to take when you have a competent organization, is to bring in a Jalen Milroe and find a way to use him. We're lucky we drafted Brock Bowers, because Brock Bowers, you can be dumb and use him right. Exactly. But Jalen Milroe is going to take a very good coaching staff.
All right, let's get to these playoff games here.
Yep.
So here we go. We got 4 games this weekend. Texans versus Chiefs, Rams versus Eagles, Ravens versus Bills, Commanders versus Lions. These spreads are very high
for a division weekend, which is the best weekend in playoffs. You got 6 point, 8.5 point, and 8.5. It's crazy.
Yeah, these are some crazy spreads. So let's start with Texans versus Chiefs. Spread. I don't know why I put Houston. I sorry.
So it's 8.5 the Chiefs way, really?
Yeah, it's 8.5 the Chiefs. I'll fix that right now. But it's 8.5 the Chiefs. Yes, it is. It is 8.5 the Chiefs, and that's a big ass spread for the Chiefs. What do you think about that?
I think the Texans on defense can keep it closer. I think the Texans can cover the spread. I expect them to lose on a very bureaucratic Chiefs win with a couple defensive holding penalties and a Harrison Butker doink field goal that goes in. I expect that to happen in this game. I expect the Texans to come out and surprise them, and then the Chiefs climb their way back with their friends and the Zebras, helping them back into these games. Third down, defensive holding that we never get a replay of. Yeah, sure, ref. Yeah. Oh, let's bring in Gene. Oh, yeah, I saw it. Okay, yeah, everybody saw it. One of those things is going to happen. But I think Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. I mean, that defensive line is really good. Derek Stingley is the best corner in football. It's not even close. I mean, he's unbelievable. I think they're going to give the Chiefs a hard time. Well, the problem is, and they're not going to have the whole Tank Dell. Because remember when Tank Dell got hurt? That was a close game when Tank Dell got hurt. And then the Texans just it was a very odd situation where a knee injury made your whole team, I don't know. Your whole team just stopped playing football at that point. I thought that was very strange. I think the Texans keep it close. I would take them to cover.
Yeah, I take the Texans to cover. A lot of people are picking the Texans in the chat. I'm not that confident. I'm just not that confident, because the thing is, what you have to just kind of realize, if this game is close and you go into the fourth quarter, it's CJ Stroud versus Patrick Mahomes, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot for CJ. It's a lot for CJ to have to outplay Patrick Mahomes in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Like to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, especially, you're gonna have to play the perfect game. And Tom Brady talked about this, how he thinks they're similar to this, how his Patriots teams were, because you couldn't just expect them to beat themselves. You had to go beat the Chiefs. And I don't know if the Texans are ready for that. That's my problem with it. But I do think this is going to be a close game. I just think the Chiefs just pull out in some stupid way. It's going to piss me off.
Yeah, I think they pull it out, but like I said, I don't think they win by 9. I would take the Texans. I'll just say, like, it just takes a couple plays in these games. Like, Will Anderson, they got a lot of flack for trading up and taking him. They took Stroud and then traded up with Will Anderson. That kind of screwed up the whole Raiders draft too and everything. It would screw up the whole thing. But like, Will Anderson is better than CJ Stroud right now. Like, I don't think people realize this. Like, he is I understand a lot of teams would rather have CJ Stroud. Like, I get it. It's a quarterback. Will Anderson is already about to be like one of the best defensive players in the NFL. He is so good. And him and Danielle Hunter get there and they make that ball fall out a couple times. We've seen Mahomes get beat a couple times, like by good pass rushes. The Bengals, the year they went to the Super Bowl, in the Super Bowl with Tampa, where he got destroyed. And the Chiefs' offensive line is not good this year. It's just not. So when the Chiefs don't have a good offensive line, they don't win the Super Bowl usually. Mm-hmm. And this game, I'm telling you, this is not a done deal. Like I said, I think the Chiefs are going to win in a frustrating fashion by 3 points.
It's going to piss us all off.
It's gonna make us so mad because the Texans had every reason to win it and they don't. That's why I don't like the spread at 8.5.
Yeah, it's gonna be, it's gonna be something that pisses us off. Like, because if the Chiefs win, I think if the Chiefs lose, I think it's the next week. If they are going to lose, it's going to be either the Ravens or the Bills.
Yeah. I mean, that's primetime TV too. I mean, you got to understand the league is going to want that game to happen too.
Exactly.
Don't take Texans money line, guys. It's plus 350. It's tempting. Don't be so decadent. Decadent societies get torn down. Anytime you read the history,
just take the Texans Houston plus
8.5. Plus 8.5, guys.
Be smart.
Be smart. Take the, it's 3rd and 5. Get the first down.
because even if the Texans win, you still win with the plus 8.
Oh yeah. At least you hedged on the otherwise frustrating victory by the Kansas City Chiefs.
Exactly. So Commanders versus Lions. Like, this is a big spread too. They expect the Lions to just kick their ass.
This one. This is another one of those ones. I have a weird feeling the Commanders beat the Lions. I don't know. I've been thinking about it all day. All it takes is a couple magical plays. And guess what? You have the guy who makes the magical play in Jaden Daniels. I understand it's a sore spot with Raider Nation. For some reason, we think he should be a Raider. He's not. There was never any opportunity, but it felt like he should be one. This guy is awesome. The Lions defense is not very good. I think I take the over in this game as well. This is going to be a track meet, in my opinion. The field goals are not going to happen in this game, I don't think. I think it is going to be going for it on 4th down. Motley Crue, Kickstart My Heart playing the whole time. Everybody's playing 100 miles an hour. But I would take the Commanders to cover, because all you need, you could be down 10 points, 14 points, and you make one big play, Jaden Daniels to Terry McLaurin, or even Olamides Zaccheaus. You could make a big play to him. They're a big play waiting to happen. I have a weird feeling about the Lions losing this game. I don't know what it is. Don't take this as financial advice. I have a weird feeling that they're going to lose this game.
I think the Lions are in trouble just because I just think they're the Lions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
and sometimes, like, Lions fans are really confident, but we got a lot of Raiders fans in the chat here, right? If the Raiders were 14-3, and you've been a Raiders fan for like years,
yeah.
This point, I would still be a little nervous.
I
would still feel like
come on.
I was like something's gonna go wrong, right? Like, we're the Raiders, right? Like, we've been struggling for so long.
Did the plane take off? Did the plane take off correctly? Okay, we're going.
Yeah, you know what I mean? We're 14-3. Lions fans just act like they just haven't dealt with the history that they've been dealing with.
Yeah,
and I think sometimes those things just creep up here. And the Raiders have Super Bowls, so that's why I feel better about it. If the Raiders were in the spot, they actually have some Super Bowls.
And didn't they, correct me if I'm wrong, so they lost in the championship game to the 49ers last year, the NFC Championship. But before that, did they not play a kind of tighter game against Tampa than it should have been? I thought Tampa kind of hung around in that.
They did. Tampa hung around. 24-7 too.
Yeah.
Which is basically my point.
I would just say, The 8.5 is high, like you said, for a perennial loser team. Like I would take. It's more fun to take the Commanders plus 8.5. You're kind of never out of it because Jaden Daniels just makes huge play after huge play.
Yeah. It's tough. I'm gonna take the Commanders plus 8.5 because I do think game's gonna be close regardless.
Me too. Lock me in.
I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. Rams versus Eagles. Eagles are -6.
Oh man. Rams have a little magic though, don't they? Like there's something weird about them. And people are pointing to the game Sunday Night Football not too long ago where Saquon Barkley was just cartwheeling into the end zone against the Rams. He could crawl military style and get 15 yards on a play. Like it didn't matter. This Rams defensive line is really good, and if they even hold Saquon to just like a regular human game, this game becomes really interesting. I'm going to take Philly, but I am not confident about it. And I know the Eagles got the corners. I know they can tackle, but those Rams receivers and Kupp hasn't done anything. We haven't seen the Cooper Kupp game yet. He could pop out. You just never know. It's all about Puka right now. I'm not sure if Tyler Higbee's going to play. He's pretty important to their team. When he's out there, they're pretty unstoppable. I like the under in this game, though. I don't think this game gets anywhere near that 48.5 points. I think it's much more of a slugfest than we want to give it credit for. But I'll take the Eagles. I'm not confident in that though.
See, I'm taking the Eagles. I think this is the game that's going to shock people where like the Eagles kind of dominate them.
Oh, it could happen. It could happen.
I think this is going to be the game that shocks them a little bit. So I think it's going to shock them a little bit where like the Eagles kind of just like not even like just beat them down, but they kind of impose their will on them and they run the ball all over them because the Rams can't stop the run. I'm gonna start there. We talk about the defensive line, but then they're not good against the run. They can't stop the run. I think this is gonna be a big factor in this game. I don't think the Rams are gonna have the ball that much. I think they're gonna kind of just keep moving the football on them, and it's gonna be like one of those games where like it like bleeds to like a 26-16 win or like a 27-17, where it's like a slow bleed where like it feels like the Rams are never out of the game, but they never are close enough to win the game. That's kind of how I feel about this one. I feel like the Eagles are just, I think they're just a better team than them. So
yeah, they are a better team. They are a better team. I do think Sean McVay is a better coach than Nick Sirianni. I will say that much.
Yeah, but
so sometimes these ugly games they turn into is the coach better, and they're nah. I'm a little scared. That line is placed really well, and I'd be scared. I'm kind of scared to pick either side of it, to be honest. Ravens Bills.
Ooh, this is a tough one. What are your thoughts on this one?
Baltimore is -1.5. This is my blowout. I actually think I think this is a Raven. I think the Raven. Yeah, I don't. So I saw this thing where I think it was an ESPN thing where the Bills just played nickel defense all the time. And when they played the Ravens Sunday Night Football earlier in the year, Derrick Henry just ran all over them, and it just didn't even look like the Bills were trying. And you're most likely going to get Zay Flowers back, it sounds like. I like Josh Allen a lot. There's this big like Allen versus Lamar thing, and I just think they're both really awesome, and I don't really feel the need to get aggressive about it. It's all about beating Patrick Mahomes. So to me, I'm going to take the Ravens. I just am. I think they're gonna make a statement in this game. I think they're gonna win this game by 10 points. Oh, Flowers is doubtful. Excuse me.
So I'm gonna be different than you. I'm gonna take the Bills. I think the Bills win this game
because you're brother.
That and the Brady the Butcher that they made this earlier today.
Damn.
From a football standpoint, I think since the Ravens beat them down earlier in this year, this is like the ultimate like NFL divisional game where you played a team that kicked your ass, and then you come back and you beat them the next time. I feel like that's what this game feels like. If it just feels like that type of game where like they make the adjustments of getting their ass beat, because when you get your ass beat, right, you know the Bills are really looking at the film this week. How do we get our ass beat? against the Ravens, and they're gonna try to avoid everything that happens. And I know it's tough with Derrick Henry and those things, but the Ravens, I mean, they're not unbeatable. They lost 5 games this year, right? They're not a team that,
including to a 4-13 Las Vegas Raiders team,
right? They've lost games this year, so they're not like this unbeatable team. I think on defense they're very suspect, and they might have some trouble stopping Josh Allen and the Bills, at this point, because they've become a totally different offense. Like, a lot of people are like, well, Josh Allen doesn't throw picks anymore. We're like, yeah, well, Josh Allen doesn't throw anymore either.
Yeah.
Right. He doesn't throw. Those like
and that Bills offensive line has been playing really well. But like I said, Kyle Hamilton, I think he's gonna snag one. They've moved him a little bit. I think to more of a free safety role. And they've been amongst the top defenses since they've done that. And I don't want to, I like I said, I'd love to see just an awesome, like, down to the last second Bills Ravens playoff game. I think the Ravens are just going to come out and just bully them. I think they're going to bully them. And like I said, I'm hoping for otherwise to have it be just down to the last second.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's talk about your game here.
Oh boy,
Notre Dame versus Ohio State.
So the spread's at Ohio State Buckeyes -8.5. Now, it is to be said that the spread opened at 9.5 to Ohio State, which I thought was disrespectful, in my opinion. I thought it was extremely disrespectful. I don't think Ohio State is people are pointing back to the last time Notre Dame was in a championship game. That was against that Alabama team, which that Alabama team, they blew out Notre Dame. Notre Dame was not in the same tax bracket as them, but this is not the same game as that. Those Alabama teams are much better than this Ohio State team. I have this weird thing. Notre Dame's got this weird luck to them right now. The luck of the Irish, some are calling it. And Marcus Freeman is a damn good coach. I haven't disagreed with one thing he's done all year. In fact, their loss to Northern Illinois, which paralyzed me nearly, that was the best loss I've ever seen a team have, because they probably lose a much more meaningful game down the stretch if they don't lose that game. Like, they got that loss out of the way. I would take Notre Dame to cover in this game. I think what we're banking on is, when you watch Ohio State, they come in waves. It's like World War I, man. It's just like waves of troops coming. There's lulls, though, in that Ohio State offense. You saw it against Texas. There's lulls in that offense. And like, Riley Leonard has this like mythical thing to him where he's not that good, but he makes the big play every time. He'll have a terrible pass, but then on 3rd and 12, he'll somehow convert something. And I think they're going to hang. I think they're going to hang around. I understand why Ohio State's favored. They are the better team, but it kind of, I don't know. I'm really confident in my guys right now. So I'll let you talk me off that ledge, but I'm confident in my guys.
I think Notre Dame wins this game just because I think Marcus Freeman's a better coach. And this is college. We were talking about coaches. I think in college, that is a big thing. Whether it's college basketball, whether it's college football, the coach matters.
It does
the most in college sports. I mean, that's the biggest part of winning in college sports, is you got to have the right coach. Like Barry Switzer won a Super Bowl with the Cowboys. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could mess around with like we're talking about Nick Sirianni. Like, is Nick Sirianni really a good coach?
You're right.
He has Howie Roseman, who's just giving a bunch of good players, and it's weird, right? In college, it's about the coach, and I'm going Marcus Freeman over Ryan Day in this game. Marcus Freeman with what, like, was it a week and a half to prepare for Ohio State?
Yeah. And the injuries are a big thing. Anthony Knapp, their left tackle, is a true freshman, but he's been really damn good this year, and he's not playing the Notre Dame left tackle, and that's tough. That's a tough Ohio State defensive line. Jeremiah Love has been really injured, but we saw, dude, look at that touchdown he had against Penn State where he was hobbling like Captain Hook into the end zone with like 3 guys on him. It was the weirdest thing. And Jeremiah Love, I see people talk about him in the draft. He's 19 years old. That guy's a monster. He's going to put on weight and be good, but I just think they have this thing. I've been doubting them, like against Georgia and Penn State, where, I thought they'd beat Penn State, but I was doubting them all through the game. But they just seem to have this, that's why I want the Raiders to hire a good coach, because you never feel out of it. Like they had to. Look at the last game against Penn State. Tommy Angeli has to come in because Riley Leonard has a possible concussion. And Tommy Angeli comes in and gets some 3 points before the half and makes it a 1-score game. And that's a huge 3 points. They win the game by 3 points. They have these weird things that are working out in their favor. And conversely, on Ohio State, yes, they're explosive. Those running backs scare me. Their offensive line scares me. But the thing about Ohio State is they didn't dominate Texas. They didn't. Yes, they won by 2 scores, but that Jack Sawyer play, incredible, scary. Pretty awesome. That guy's for sure playing in the AFC North, I feel like. You just look at him. He's an AFC North guy. Scary play. But I was just saying, like, you don't get to, I don't think I don't think it should be this high. I think the spread to me should be Ohio State 5.5 is where I would have it at. And that's why I would take them to cover. And I'm looking forward to watching this game, and I'm looking forward to perhaps some excuses being made by a lot of people as to why things aren't happening. And like I said, when I watch Marcus Freeman, I want to go play linebacker, man. I mean, the guy, I love the guy. I mean, he truly is just like, look at what Brian Kelly's doing with LSU right now compared to what Marcus Freeman did, who took the job on a whim after Brian Kelly left overnight. Like the guy is a beast. You got to stop that early Ohio State run where every game in the playoffs, what they've done is they've just come in and just 2-score game within a span of 5 minutes. And if you stop that, I think you can play with them.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that Marcus Freeman is the better coach.
He absolutely is. We'll see if the horses are there to get it done. We'll see, because Ohio State, with that left tackle not playing, I'm a little scared there. And Notre Dame's receivers are not great.
Yeah, they're not great. Yeah.
But they made huge plays against Penn State. It's like that's why college football is kind of magical, and NFL's not really magical. NFL's just like. NFL feels like a coin flip, like Squid Game, or something. Yeah. Like it just NFL is just like, well, you're dead. Actually, sorry, but the college is just like there's like this like angels in the outfield part to college. Not to make it a Catholic thing, but like there's like angels in the outfield part of college football that I think we all go for. And I might be coping, but we'll see.
We'll see, man. We'll see. He said, "What's up with the offensive guard that got hurt?"
I still haven't heard anything about him. That is also bad because that their offensive line has not been what it's been in years past. They've gotten better, but those 2 guys being hurt is scary. I mean, you talking about there's going to be 2 guys drafted off that Ohio State line, maybe 3, and so that's. No, it's scary. To me, I'm, Riley Leonard moves around. He occasionally has times where he has times where he just looks good. Like there's times where he'll just make like a really good quarterback play, and then times where he doesn't look like a quarterback. I understand why people might be on Ohio State. I understand it, but keep an eye out for my guys. They've never been this big of underdog in a long time. So
that is very true. They
really haven't. They really haven't.
They're a big underdog in this game.
It's a huge underdog.
Disrespectful a little bit, in my opinion.
I felt disrespectful because they were treating it as though this was the Alabama team that tore down the Manti Te'o fake girlfriend Notre Dame team. It's not that matchup. No. That Alabama team was insane. We're talking TJ Yeldon, all of those guys. That was an insane Alabama team.
Yeah, that was Eddie Lacy too, wasn't it?
Eddie Lacy. I mean, guys that we're laughing about now, it was like Eddie Lacy and TJ
Amari Cooper, right?
Yeah, Dante Hightower. I mean, we are talking like it might have been Amari Cooper. Yeah, you might have had. I mean, look, Ohio State's got guys. They absolutely do. They have a true freshman that's a beast. But Notre Dame, I think, has a better secondary than anybody Ohio State's played. So we'll see. And that's without Benjamin Morrison all year. So that's we got Christian 50 Shades of Gray locking down the outside. And then we got Ryan Clark's son, nickel corner, Jordan Clark. Came from Arizona State. Sorry to say. Stud, though. Go Irish. That is my take. Sorry if I lose you money, guys.
Yeah, I just want to look at the Alabama roster from 2022.
What was it? 2012, right? That was the year they played Notre Dame. Yeah.
Yeah. So Eddie Lacy, TJ Yeldon, Kenyon Drake.
Killing me.
Oh yeah,
OJ Howard, maybe.
Yep. Amari Cooper, tight end. No, not OJ Howard. Yeah, he wasn't there yet.
Okay.
Tight end Amari Cooper was there.
Oh,
Chance Warmack, who played in the NFL a
no.
little bit. Quentin
These guys
Dial played some.
Quentin Dial. Yeah, sure. D. Milner, perhaps? Maybe D. Milner.
C.J. Mosley.
Yeah.
Haha, Clinton Dix, Landon Collins.
Ah. Yeah, I don't think
Reggie Ragland.
Yeah, these guys are all NFL players. Like these guys are, and look, so a lot of the All-Star guys are. I just don't think it's that kind of spread. I don't. That's all I'm saying. It's a little high. It's already moved a point towards Notre Dame, so I think most of America agrees the spread's a little disrespectful.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they're missing some old linemen here that I'm missing here.
Yeah, maybe no. Jonah Williams wouldn't have been there yet. Maybe no. Maybe not. I don't know.
Like Fluke. DJ Fluker was before that, wasn't he?
I thought so. I thought he was a little before that. But yeah, that's.
Oh, my bad. Drake Kirkpatrick.
Yeah, Carson Palmer. They took him with the Carson Palmer pick. The Bengals. I remember.
Oh no! It was DJ Fluker was there. That was DJ.
Okay,
Fluker.
yeah. So I'm saying, like, you had those three running backs: Chance Warmack, who was a monster in college, and DJ Fluker. And it's just, I thought maybe Ryan Kelly might have been at center, but I guess not. He probably was a little bit later. Yeah, just that team was just and Nick Saban.
Oh, it's Barrett Jones who played in the NFL for
Barrett Jones, yeah,
like
and Nick Saban. You forgot about
Ryan Kelly was Barrett Jones's backup.
Yeah, but like I said, you forgot about the coach Nick Saban. So like. Ohio State is not that good, in my opinion. I mean, they're the 9th seed. People forget they're the 9th seed.
What did Nick Saban do to get all these guys on the same team? I'm looking at this team. This team is insane.
That's what I'm saying. That team, people clown Notre Dame for like losing that game. Like nobody was winning that game. We got absolute tenderized in that game. And I knew it was going to happen. Yeah. So, like I said, Ohio State. We'll see. Notre Dame played Ohio State last year, came down to the last possession. They should have won. They dropped an interception, and then Ohio State scored with like 3 seconds left to go to take the lead. So it was a close game last year. I expect a close game this year.
All right, guys. I don't see any more questions in the comments, so we are going to be out of here. We had a lot of people. We got 640 in here today.
Everybody wants that Ben Johnson. I hope it happens, guys. I can't bring myself to say that it already has, like a lot of fans have.
Yeah. So I appreciate everybody coming in here. Had a big show for Friday Night Live. This might be our biggest one, man. I don't know if we
there. Yeah,
it's up there, man. So definitely appreciate everybody coming on here and enjoying the show. And of course, we'll be doing our mock drafts and all that good stuff. So make sure you check out Friday Night Live. But check out for the draft preview. I got Cam Scatabo in the membership and do Will Howard tomorrow. And then that's going to be on the show too. So we do the draft shows. And of course, we just get ready for the Senior Bowl. And then, of course, these shows that keep popping up. So hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. We are out of here.